the moment we got back onto the carrier, we watched some TV footage of the recordings of the broadcasters when we landed safely on the moon. This was something that was shared worldwide in a way that could never again be repeated. And it did bring the world together. And that's when I just felt the urge to say to Neil, look at that. We missed the whole thing.
My 7-year-old wants to know, was it hard to walk around? Did you feel like you were tripping, or wasn't it difficult to walk on the moon?
It was really very easy. The combination of the restricted mobility of the pressure suit, which would keep your legs and arms from moving very rapidly, the combination of that restriction and the reduced gravity gave the overall impression of slow motion. Whatever you were doing just was not going to happen as fast up there as it does down here. If you lean a little bit, you don't begin to lose your balance quickly at all. It's very, very slow, and it's very easy to recover.
Read accounts from various astronauts that say if you weren't spiritual before you went up in space, you were afterwards. Did you feel the same way? Did you feel that there was an indication then that there is a God?
Well, I felt it was appropriate to be, let's say, spiritually prepared as I went through training. It was natural. I was an elder in the Presbyterian Church, and I felt there were maybe some things I could do. So I inquired and got permission to serve myself communion when we were on the moon, because I felt this was an indication of celebration or giving thanks. My ego came out, and I wanted people to know what I was doing because I felt good about it. But I was advised not to make mention of that over the radio, and I understood that, and in retrospect, it was certainly the appropriate thing to do, because that was a rather secular thing. Since coming back from the moon, I've been greatly impressed with how fortunate a few of us were to be a part of such a program. But I don't think it has given me, the trip at least, has given me any greater insight. I've had a growing, maturing appreciation of spirituality and perhaps a lessening of the individual religious nature that seems to attract many, many humans. I think there's a much grander, much larger, bigger picture. Maybe it's an Einsteinian view of spirituality.
In one of your books, you mentioned that after it was all over with and you were in the decontamination process, you looked at Neil Armstrong and said, "My God, Neil, we missed it all." You realized what a big event it was and the way the world had reacted, and you, I guess, had been so busy doing what you had been trained to do that you felt like you had missed it in a way?
Well, that's not exactly what I felt the moment we got back onto the carrier, right after we'd gone through a physical exam and taken a shower and so forth. We watched some film before the ceremonies on the carrier. We watched some TV footage of the recordings of the broadcasters when we landed safely on the moon, and we saw the reaction of people around the moon and around the Earth. In different parts, and that's when I just felt the urge to say to Neil, look at that. We missed the whole thing. In a way, making a joke, but also making a serious observation. It's sort of a mixture of the two. And I'm not sure exactly what prompted me to say that. since then, I think what it was the realization that the response that we were seeing around the world was a measure of the value of what we had just done, much more so than the rocks that we brought back or what anybody said or the questions that were answered. It was that for those brief moments, those minutes, those hours of the successful landing and then the walk on the moon, this was something that was shared worldwide in a way that could never again be repeated. And it did bring the world together, and they paused and they forgot about other things that were happening for a brief moment. And the individuals, the humans around the world, treasure that moment as something that was meaningful in their lives. And for the most part, it is so etched in their memory that they remember where they were during those moments.
So you really think the survival of humanity really depends on space exploration? Continued?
I think it eventually does, yes. Plus the opportunities for the resources that are in the asteroids to bring back to make up for the depletion of the use of resources here on the surface of the Earth. And I think breakthroughs in energy can make space travel much more cost-effective and efficient. But the most important thing is we need to increase the reliability of the rockets that we have. 1 in 20 failure for expendable rockets is not very good. We need to make that 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000. And the best way to do that is to bring that rocket engine back after it's flown and look at it and examine it, find out where the failures are about to happen. And that means reusability. If you have a vision for the future and you realize that in order to have an efficient system that's highly reliable, we have to have reusability. Then the one payload that gives us high volume traffic is people. And that's why I'm convinced that building a delivery system and a place to go to, a quarters in space, where people can go for about a week at a time, and a delivery system that can take not 10 people once a month, but 50, 60, 80 people every other day. That's a lot of people, but that is what ballpark is needed to be able to charge people initially less than $1 million and then closer and closer to $100,000. But still, that's very expensive. So 10 or 12 years ago, I realized we must do something else to broaden out the opportunities. And a lottery or a game show selection or some sponsorship, a method of selecting people other than how much money they have to invest in a ride into space. We need something of that nature. When the rides are few and far between, 2 or 3 a year, then we can have an entertainment-type selection or a sponsorship and an extensive training. But when we're flying people quite frequently, then we need something that has a rapid selection. And I think that's where we need to move into something like a sweepstakes or a lottery to make it available to more than just those with great means.
How does Buzz Aldrin want to be remembered?
When I was young, I remember my father and early pioneers talking about the good old days. Somehow it seemed a little sad that they were always looking backward. Maybe that or something else, a spark of creativity, a desire to want to do things better. I believe that in the last 30 years, at least the last 20, and especially the last 10 or 5, I have developed a greater appreciation for what I think is the evolutionary direction that I think our nation should go. We can improve on that as we go along, but we need to make some progressive commitments. And I think those commitments need to be somehow in sync with the term of office of the commander-in-chief. It's the president who decides the direction of the nation's efforts in space. And those potentially change every 4 years, or at least go through a review and a recommitment. So I think we need successive 4-year programs, maybe 5 or 6 of them. And the further they are in the future, the more uncertain they are. But the ones that you commit yourself to right now are very definite. And then you revise those as you go along. And I would like to be known as a person who introduces visionary, evolutionary concepts to improve our nation and the world's space travel opportunities.
Well, Dr. Aldrin, I think everybody would agree that you certainly are that person. Thank you very much, sir.
Appreciate
you. Thank you.
Thank you.